Over the past few days, controversy has erupted amongst the autistic community online regarding a new play relating to autism. We often hear complaints that autism is infrequently represented in media and entertainment. So why has a play featuring an autistic child who doesn't speak, and written by a playwright who previously worked with autistic children, caused so much anger and upset? All in a Row triggered some debate just with its promotional image, which featured 4 fondant fancies, one of which was coloured differently to the others and turned upside down. The suggestion that the autistic character in the play might not only be different but portrayed as defective was a legitimate concern for many. The play is described as a depiction of the night before Lawrence, an 11-year-old non-speaking autistic boy with behavioural difficulties, is sent to a residential specialist school with his parents' consent. It's described as both heartwarming and humorous. What really sent the uproar into a focused stream of outrage was the revelation that the autistic boy will be played by a puppet, whilst the other neurotypical characters are played by human actors. Once images of the puppet itself emerged, that condemnation surged, since the puppet they chose to use was described by many as ghoulish, morbid, or resembling a day-old corpse with its fixed features and grey felt skin tone. The creators faced a backlash from autistic people online, who feel that the puppet is dehumanising, and compared it to such practices as using blackface makeup on white actors, rather than using actors appropriate to the ethnic origin of the character being represented. They responded by describing their creative process and claiming that it was untenable to use a young autistic actor to play the role. One of the reasons cited was that the flashing lights and noise of the play may cause meltdowns in the actors, and even admit that autistic people who go to see the play may be triggered by the same things. Financial and regulatory concerns have also been mentioned in this context. There's also been a claim that around 40 or 50 autistic people were consulted in the making of the production, including, they say, specialists and activists. Yet to date, none have come forward in defence of the play. Later, images emerged of the prototype for the puppet, which has been compared to a number of characters and props from horror movies. It's no wonder that the producers decided to replace this nightmarish vision. But it still begs the question of why they saw fit to use a puppet in the first place. Even the National Autistic Society has stated they cannot endorse the play directly because of the puppet. Since snippets of the script isolated from the promotional video have been circulated, showing lines which compare Lawrence's behaviour and toilet habits to those of a puppy, the controversy has done nothing but deepen. The fact that the makers of the play have openly stated that their story is not about the boy being put into care by his parents, but about the parents themselves, has not been well received in itself. This production was likely to cause controversy, no matter what their production choices. There is so little understanding of what autism is and the disadvantages the social stigma causes the majority of us on the spectrum. A dramatic story telling of the distress of parents at having a child whose autism is very difficult to cope with only serves to deepen the preconceptions that lead to so many of us never being employed, being over-medicated, or trapped in the criminal justice system. Autism is a spectrum, and those of us with intellectual disabilities or distressing behavioural problems are not to be ignored. However, that is the face of autism most often represented to the public in the media. Meanwhile, there are hundreds of thousands of autistic people in the UK alone, facing barriers to work, education, benefits, or even being taken seriously as a result of this unbalanced representation. Parents deserve to be represented, but the autistic people need representation even more. It is unlikely that the controversy and the outrage would have been anywhere near as angry and concentrated had it not been for the puppet. It would not be possible to cast an autistic boy with real behavioural challenges for obvious reasons, But they could easily have found an autistic actor, or actors, who could have played the role successfully. Even a neurotypical actor would be favourable to the creepy, grey, inhuman puppet they chose to use. Autistic people feel dehumanised on a daily basis. We are othered by the majority of society. It is a crying shame that the people involved in this production, including its writer, chose to reinforce the separation of autistic people from society rather than tell a story that both challenges the status quo and has an entirely human cast. The producers have said that they feel their play tells a worthwhile story that highlights the faults in the current care system in a sensitive and accessible way. Until the play opens on February the 14th, we cannot comment on whether they have succeeded or not. People have been urged not to judge the play without seeing it, which is a fair enough request, but seems to brush off the offence caused to the autistic community by the bizarre artistic choices made. Is this play a valuable contribution to understanding of autism? Does it portray Lawrence in a sensitive and kind manner? Maybe it does, despite the scepticism of the autistic community. Is it fair that autistic people have been outraged at being portrayed as a lifeless grey puppet? Would any community of marginalised people be happy at such a portrayal? Without doubt, the choice to use this grey puppet to portray an autistic character in an otherwise human cast has created doubt and division between the producers and the autistic community. Whilst it may have generated an immense amount of free publicity for the play, their insistence on continuing with the puppet, despite the outcry it has caused, gives little credence to the producers' claims to be sensitive to the needs and feelings of autistic people.